You won't believe what I found hidden in the attic. My husband promised me something for our 55 years together, but he never lived to give it. Now, I'm not sure if I should even open it. I still remember the night the world went silent. The wind howled outside, rattling the old windows of our house, the one we had built together, brick by brick, love by love. It was December, 2 months after my darling Thomas had passed, and the snow pressed against the panes like frozen whispers trying to tell me something. I had been sitting in my favorite chair, the one closest to the fireplace, the flames flickering shadows across the walls, my hands wrapped around a mug of tea that had long gone cold. And then I saw it, the envelope. Thick, creamy paper, sealed with a wax stamp I didn't recognize at first. My heart froze. It wasn't in the usual place. Thomas had never left envelopes hidden in corners. I had searched the drawers, the closet, even under the floorboards during those sleepless nights after his funeral. And now here it was waiting for me. My hand shook as I picked it up. There was no note on the outside. Nothing but the seal and his familiar handwriting on the inside flap. I could hear my own pulse thundering in my ears, louder than the storm outside. I sat down at the small wooden table in the corner, the candlelight casting quivering shadows on the cracked floor. I hesitated. Should I open it? Or was it a cruel trick of fate? Thomas had promised me a Christmas surprise for our 55 years together, and I had almost convinced myself that promise had died with him. As I broke the seal, a small folded paper slipped out. I picked it up and read the first line. My eyes widened, my breath caught. Meet me where it all began before the clock strikes midnight. I froze. Our house had never been built where it all began. It had always been somewhere else, somewhere far away. The attic door creaked behind me. I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat. Was it the wind? Or someone else? The shadows in the corner of the room seemed to stretch and move, and for a moment I thought I saw him, Thomas, his smile soft and warm, as if he had never left. I shook my head, trying to clear the illusion. I wasn't imagining things. Or was I? The envelope fell from my trembling hands. I bent to pick it up, and my fingers brushed another paper, a smaller one, yellowed with age, almost as if it had been waiting for this very moment for decades. I hesitated. Should I open it now? Or wait? My curiosity clawed at me, relentless and merciless. And that's when I remembered the old music box. Thomas had always loved that music box, tucked away in the corner of the attic. He had played it for me on our first anniversary, the melody soft and haunting, filling the room like whispers of a secret only we shared. I hadn't touched it in years, not since he died. I walked toward the attic, my cane tapping softly against the cracked wooden stairs, echoing in the hollow house. The shadows seemed to follow me, stretching along the walls, flickering in rhythm with my heartbeat. As I opened the door, I noticed something strange. The room felt different. The air heavier, almost electric. Dust motes danced in the candlelight like tiny ghosts, and I could hear faint whispers, or maybe it was just the wind. I stepped inside, and there it was, the music box. But it wasn't the one I remembered. This one had something carved into it that I had never seen before. A tiny keyhole, hidden beneath layers of dust, and initials etched in a delicate hand. I knelt, brushing the dust away. The initials matched none I knew. Except one. Thomas's. But why hadn't he told me? Why leave this hidden until now? I paused. Take a moment, dear viewers. What would you do if you found a secret like this after losing someone you loved for over half a century? Would you open it? Or leave it untouched, letting the mystery die with them? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you're curious to see what happens next, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because you won't want to miss what comes next. I slid the tiny key into the keyhole. Fit perfectly. The box clicked. I held my breath as I lifted the lid. Inside, nothing. Or so I thought. Then a small piece of paper fluttered out, landing on the floor. Picked it up. My hands were shaking so badly I thought I might drop it. The paper read, "Follow the footsteps. The first secret waits where the rain never stops." I frowned. Footsteps? A secret? Rain that never stops? I lived in a place where it snowed most of the year, but rain. This didn't make sense. My mind raced. Could Thomas have left a trail? A map of his last thoughts? Or was it something else entirely? The candle flickered violently, throwing the attic into sudden darkness. A cold draft brushed against my neck, making the hairs on my arms rise. And then a soft creak from behind me. Footsteps. But no one was there. My eyes darted around, heart pounding. I whispered his name, trembling. Thomas, is that you? Nothing. Just the shadows. Just the music box's soft, lingering tune, echoing like a ghost. I knew one thing. I had to follow the trail. Whatever Thomas had left for me, it wasn't just a memory. It was something more. Something he wanted me to find. And that's how it began. The night I realized that even death couldn't keep Thomas's secrets from me. The night our 55-year promise turned into a puzzle. A mystery I had to solve step by trembling step. Little did I know that was only the beginning. Shadows would grow longer, whispers would get louder, and the secrets buried in our past would not remain buried for long. The night felt colder after I opened that music box. Even the fire seemed hesitant to burn fully, like it too was afraid of what I might find next. I couldn't stop thinking about Thomas's cryptic words. Follow the footsteps. The first secret waits where the rain never stops. I lived in a town where snow was the norm, yet I knew exactly the place he meant. Our old cabin by the lake, hidden beneath the pines, where rain seemed endless and time stood still. That's where we had met, where we had fallen in love, where he whispered promises I had carried in my heart for 55 years. The memory was vivid. I could see him in his worn brown coat, umbrella in hand, holding my mittened hands as we ran through puddles, laughing at how the cold splashed around us. That very spot. It was the beginning of everything. And now it was calling me. I bundled up, gripping my cane, and stepped into the storm. Snow had turned to rain, soaking the streets, and every step on the cracked pavement felt like I was walking into the unknown. The wind tore at my coat, and the world seemed muffled, as if nature itself wanted to keep me from discovering what Thomas had left behind. As I reached the lake cabin, I noticed something strange. Footprints. Not mine, not freshly made, but old. Damp, partially faded, leading to the back of the cabin. I hesitated. Thomas. I whispered, my voice trembling. No answer, only the rain pattering against the roof like 1,000 tiny fingers drumming secrets. The door creaked as I pushed it open. The smell of old pine and rain damp would filled my lungs. Inside, the cabin looked frozen in time. Dust lay thick on the table, and a single chair sat in the corner, tilted as if someone had left in a hurry. My eyes were drawn to the fireplace mantel. There, half hidden behind a faded photograph of us on our first anniversary, was another envelope. I picked it up, my hands slick from the rain. The handwriting was unmistakable, Thomas's. But this time the envelope was thicker, heavier, almost purposeful. My heart pounded. I opened it slowly. Inside was a key, small and silver, and a note. The door you've never dared open holds the truth. But beware. Some memories are dangerous when uncovered. I froze. The door I had never dared open was at the far end of the cabin. A heavy wooden door with old iron hinges, always locked, always avoided. And yet now, I had a key. My fingers brushed it, hesitant, trembling, afraid of what might be waiting behind it. The rain outside intensified, slamming against the cabin walls as if urging me forward. I took a deep breath, my grandmother's courage warring with my fear. Slowly I approached the door, the key trembling in my hand. The lock clicked perfectly, and the door swung open into darkness. I couldn't see much at first, only shadows. But then, a faint glow, candlelight, flickering like a heartbeat, led me down a narrow staircase, spiraling into the basement I had never dared explore. The air was musty, thick with secrets, and I could hear whispers. I froze. Whispers. Low, urgent, almost like someone speaking directly into my mind. Was it Thomas? Or something else? My heart thumped in my chest. I wanted to run, but curiosity, stubbornness, and love pushed me forward. At the bottom of the stairs, the basement opened into a small chamber. Dusty shelves lined the walls, holding jars, old letters, and books I didn't recognize. But my eyes were drawn to a small trunk in the corner. Chain shut, padlock rusted but intact. The key in my hand seemed to hum, almost alive. I knew without thinking that it belonged here. I knelt, inserted the key, and turned. The lock clicked. Slowly I lifted the lid, and froze. Inside were photographs, hundreds of them dating back decades, some of me, some of Thomas, and some I didn't recognize. Men and women, faces stern and secretive, all tied to places and events I had never known about. My hands shook as I sifted through them, heart racing. Then I found a small diary, worn leather cover, edges frayed. I opened it, and Thomas's handwriting spilled across the pages. The words were tender, loving, and terrifying. He had been hiding secrets, not just about the past few years, but the decades we had shared together. Names, dates, hidden meetings. Someone was watching us all along. I heard the soft creak of footsteps behind me. My heart skipped. I spun around. Empty basement. Shadows danced on the walls. The whispers returned, louder now, urgent. I couldn't tell if it was the wind, my mind, or something alive in the darkness. I clutched the diary. One page fell open on its own, as if guiding me. A map, crudely drawn with a red X marked near the edge of the property. The old well, long abandoned. Thomas had left me a trail. A path I had to follow, no matter the fear, no matter the storm. My hands were trembling. Every memory of Thomas, every laugh, every promise, every touch, surged inside me. And yet, a cold knot of fear twisted in my stomach. What if I wasn't ready for what he wanted me to find? What if some secrets were better left buried? I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. I had followed him this far. I couldn't stop now. Not after 55 years of love, trust, and memories we had built together. Before I left the basement, I noticed something glinting in the corner. A tiny silver locket. Picked it up. Inside was a photograph of a young girl I didn't recognize. A note. She knows too much. Protect her. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut behind me. My heart jumped. Whispers surrounded me. Footsteps echoed. Shadows moved. I ran to the door, it was locked. Trapped. I screamed for Thomas, for anyone, but only the rain answered. I sank to the floor, clutching the locket, shaking, tears blurring my vision. Then the diary glowed faintly, as if urging me to read, to follow, to continue. I realized then that Thomas's gift, his surprise, wasn't a simple trinket. It was a journey. A puzzle. A revelation of truths that someone, or something, had tried to hide for decades. And now I had no choice. The next step was clear. I would follow the footsteps, even if it led me into danger, even if the storm tried to stop me, even if death itself lingered in the shadows. The night was far from over, and the first secret, the one Thomas had promised, waited for me in the rain. The storm outside showed no mercy. Rain slammed against the cabin like icy fists, and the wind whistled through cracks as if trying to warn me to turn back. But I couldn't. Not now. Not after discovering the locket, the diary, and the trail Thomas had left. The map in his diary was crude but clear enough. A red X marked the old well at the edge of the property, the one we had avoided for decades. As a girl, I had been warned never to go near it. Dark legends had swirled around that well, whispers of disappearances, of things lost and never found. But Thomas, he had hidden something there for me. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and stepped into the storm, came tapping on the muddy path. The shadows of the pines stretched long and twisted, bending in the wind like fingers reaching for me. Every step felt like trespassing into a world I had only glimpsed in nightmares. The well appeared through the rain, half hidden behind tangled roots and thorny bushes. It was exactly as I remembered. Old, weathered stones, moss crawling over its edges, and the darkness yawning beneath like a hungry mouth. My heart thumped so loudly I could hear it over the storm. I leaned over the edge, peering into the blackness. The bucket was gone, replaced by a small wooden box suspended by a rusted chain. My fingers trembled as I reached for it, rain soaking my hands, adrenaline making them clumsy. The box fell into my palms, heavy, cold, and ominous. Before I could open it, a sudden sound made me freeze. Footsteps. Someone or something was coming. I ducked behind a tree, the rain drenching me, my breath short and sharp. The footsteps stopped. Silence. And then a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." My heart leapt. It was his voice, or at least it sounded like Thomas, though hollow, distant. My eyes darted around. Nothing. Just the storm, just the shadows, just the well. But I knew one thing. I wasn't alone. I forced myself to open the box. Inside, a small stack of letters tied with a red ribbon. My fingers shook as I untied them. The first letter. Oh my God, the first letter. My dearest, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. But what I leave for you is not just a memory. It is a truth someone wanted buried. I love you always. Follow carefully but beware. Not everyone who smiles at you is a friend. I gasped. His handwriting so familiar yet tinged with fear. Someone had been watching him. Someone who knew our secrets. And now that someone was still out there. The next letters revealed more. Hidden accounts, old debts, clandestine meetings with people I had never heard of. Thomas had been protecting me, keeping shadows at bay, even when he was dying. He had left a trail, knowing I would have to follow it. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the clearing, and I saw them, figures in the distance, barely more than shadows, watching. I froze. Should I run? Or should I follow the instructions in his letters? Fear clamped around my chest, but love for Thomas, trust in him, pushed me forward. I followed the map, each clue more cryptic than the last. A carved symbol on a tree, a stone marked with initials only I would recognize, a rusted gate that led to the edge of the property no one had walked for years. Every step brought me closer to the truth, and yet deeper into danger. At one point, I stumbled upon an old diary buried beneath the roots of an ancient oak. The cover was cracked, pages yellowed, and inside, I recognized the handwriting. Not Thomas's. Someone else. Someone whose words dripped with menace, documenting every moment of my life and Thomas's. Every secret we had shared. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. How could anyone know so much? Had they been there all along, hiding in plain sight, waiting for this moment? The whispers returned, low and urgent, almost guiding me toward the next clue. I reached the edge of the property, where the red X on the map had been. An abandoned shed stood before me, the door slightly ajar. Shadows flickered inside. Footsteps echoed again, and my cane slipped on the wet ground. I swallowed my fear and stepped forward. Inside the shed I found an old chest, locked but heavy with significance. And beside it, a note in Thomas's handwriting. If you have reached this point, you are braver than I ever imagined. Open the chest, but beware. The truth is more dangerous than the lies that hide it. I hesitated. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Every instinct screamed to run, but curiosity, love, and decades of trust in Thomas won over. I unlocked the chest. Inside were documents, photographs, and an object wrapped carefully in velvet. I reached for the velvet bundle. My fingers brushed it and froze. It was a key, enormous and ornate, unlike anything I had ever seen. And attached to it, a tag with my name in Thomas's handwriting. For you, my love. The final door awaits. A scream tore from my throat, not of fear but of realization. Thomas had left me more than memories. He had left me a path, a journey through shadows and secrets, all leading to something monumental. Something worth 55 years of love and perhaps worth my life. The storm intensified. The shadows seemed to move closer. Whispers filled the air, almost as if warning me, as if daring me to turn back. I held the key tightly and with it the courage to continue. And yet, just as I was about to step out of the shed, I heard it. A voice, clear, sharp, and terrifying. I've been waiting for you. I froze. Someone was out there. Someone who had been following me. My heart raced, the rain soaked through my clothes, but I knew one thing. I couldn't stop now. Not when Thomas had trusted me with this secret. Not when the first revelation was only the beginning. The key in my hand seemed heavier now, charged with urgency. The final door. Thomas's final surprise waited, and someone, or something, didn't want me to reach it. The rain had turned into a relentless storm, lashing the ground, turning the path into a river of mud, but I didn't care. The key in my hand felt alive, heavy with purpose, pulsing as if urging me forward. Thomas's final surprise, the culmination of 55 years of love, secrets, and whispered promises, was just ahead. I followed the map in his diary to a part of the property I had never dared to enter, the abandoned wing of our old estate. It had been sealed for decades, dust and cobwebs suffocating the windows, the paint peeling like ancient parchment. Stories had circulated about that wing. Strange sounds, doors that slammed themselves, lights that flickered without reason. But Thomas had left me the key. He trusted me to face whatever lurked inside. I approached the heavy wooden door, its surface scarred and weathered. The ornate key fit perfectly, I turned it slowly, holding my breath. The lock clicked, echoing in the empty hall. A shiver ran down my spine as the door creaked open, revealing darkness beyond. Inside, the air was thick, almost tangible, scented with old paper, polished wood, and something else metallic, sharp. My cane tapped on the floor, echoing like a drumbeat in a cathedral of shadows. I could see the faint outlines of furniture covered in dust sheets, cobwebs swaying gently like ghosts in the candlelight. And then, I saw it. A spiral staircase leading downward, carved in stone, worn smooth by generations long gone. At the bottom, a faint glow pulsed, beckoning me like a heartbeat. The whispers returned, low and urgent, but this time unmistakable. A warning, a plea, and maybe a guide. I descended slowly, step by trembling step. The key felt heavier with each step, as though it was anchoring me to some unseen truth. Shadows twisted along the walls, dancing in rhythm with my racing heart. My hand brushed against the stone banister, cold and slick with moisture, sending a shiver through me. At the bottom, I entered a chamber unlike anything I had imagined. Candlelight flickered across the walls, illuminating shelves filled with dusty journals, photographs, and mysterious artifacts. And at the center, a single pedestal held a box, black and polished, almost glowing in the dim light. I approached cautiously. A sense of dread and anticipation clawed at my chest. The box was locked, but I knew immediately it was the one the key belonged to. I inserted it, turned, and the lock clicked open. Inside, a collection of items that made my breath catch. Letters, photographs, a small jewelry box, and a sealed envelope with my name in Thomas's unmistakable handwriting. I opened the envelope first. His words, so familiar, yet tinged with fear and urgency, spilled out. My dearest love, if you are here, it means you have followed every step, braved every shadow, and trusted me beyond measure. What you will find in the chest is not just a memory of us, but a truth someone has tried to hide for decades. Guard it, cherish it, and above all, do not trust anyone blindly. I felt my hands tremble. His words weren't just love letters, they were warnings. Someone had been watching him. Someone had been tracking us. And now I was alone in the darkness, holding the culmination of a life's worth of secrets. I opened the jewelry box next. Inside was a locket, the same one from the well, but now it glowed faintly, as if resonating with the room itself. I opened it and found a miniature photograph of Thomas, holding hands with a woman I didn't recognize. My heart twisted. Was this another secret? Another life I had never known? Then I noticed a loose floorboard beneath the pedestal. My curiosity, my obsession with following his trail, compelled me to lift it. Beneath it lay a hidden compartment, containing a stack of documents tied with a red ribbon. I untied them carefully, hands shaking, and unfolded the top sheet. It was a will, but not an ordinary will. It detailed hidden assets, accounts, properties, and letters of confession, including admissions from people I had trusted my entire life. Names I never expected, including someone in my own family, who had tried to manipulate and control Thomas's fortune and hide truths about our lives. My mind reeled. 55 years of love, happiness, and trust, and someone had tried to poison it all. The whispers returned, louder now, almost triumphant, guiding me through the papers, revealing patterns, warnings, and connections I hadn't seen before. Then a soft creak behind me made me spin around. The shadows seemed to condense into a figure, a tall silhouette just beyond the flickering candlelight. My heart pounded. The footsteps I had followed, they were here. Watching. Waiting. I knew you'd find it, the figure said, voice calm, measured, almost sinister. I froze, gripping the locket and letters. My mind raced. Should I flee? Confront? Or stay? My love for Thomas, my courage, the 55 years we had shared, pushed me to stand my ground. Who are you? I demanded, my voice trembling but firm. The figure stepped closer into the dim light. Familiar features emerged, someone I never expected. My jaw went slack. The truth. It was right there, staring me in the face. Thomas had left me not just a trail, but a revelation that would change everything I had ever believed about him. About us, about my life. I clutched the locket, the documents, the letters. My hands shook violently. Tears blurred my vision. And yet, I felt a surge of power, of clarity, of purpose. I had discovered the secret Thomas had trusted me with, the final surprise of our 55 years together. And it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because the shadow standing before me had a key of its own. One that could undo everything Thomas had worked for, everything I had uncovered, everything I had survived to this point. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I wasn't going to let 55 years of love, trust, and secrets be stolen. Not now. Not ever. The whispers, the shadows, the storm outside, they all converged into one truth. The final act was about to begin. The shadowy figure stood before me, still shrouded in dim candlelight, their presence commanding and threatening at once. My hands shook, clutching the locket, the letters, the documents Thomas had so carefully left. I wanted to speak, to demand answers, but the words died in my throat. Fear and adrenaline tangled inside me. I see you found Thomas's little treasure trove, the figure said, voice low and deliberate, almost savoring the dread they instilled. But I'm afraid not everything he left you is for your eyes alone. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice. Who are you? Why are you here? A slow smile curved across their face. Recognition struck me like a hammer. My heart froze. It was someone I had trusted, someone close. But their motives were hidden, dark like the storm outside. Do you really think Thomas's secrets were safe? They asked, stepping closer. Shadows stretched and flickered, dancing across the walls like accusatory fingers. I've been waiting a long time for you to get this far. Now it's time you know everything. The words hit me like ice. Everything I had believed, every memory of Thomas, every quiet, loving gesture, was it all a lie? I clutched the locket tighter. My mind raced back through decades of our lives, searching for clues I had missed, faces I had misread, words I had ignored. And then I remembered the first letter, the one hidden in the well. Not everyone who smiles at you is a friend. My pulse quickened. I realized the figure had been orchestrating things from the shadows, manipulating events, and possibly even influencing Thomas's final days. I had no choice but to follow their lead. They gestured toward the far corner of the chamber. Another locked door, almost imperceptible beneath shadows. The key I held pulsed in my hand as if recognizing its final destination. That door, the figure said, voice almost gentle now, holds everything Thomas wanted you to see, but only if you're ready to face the truth. I hesitated. The air seemed to thicken. Rain pounded on the roof above, thunder shaking the windows. My hands trembled, my voice barely a whisper. I have to know. For Thomas. The figure stepped back, allowing me passage. I slid the key into the lock. My heart pounded. Slowly I turned it. The lock clicked. The door creaked open. Inside, darkness. Thick, oppressive, almost alive. I stepped cautiously, candle in hand, the shadows shifting as if watching, breathing. My eyes adjusted. And then I saw it. A room lined with photographs, letters, and diaries I had never seen. Each item chronicled not just our life, but others. People I had trusted, people Thomas had trusted. All connected in a web of secrets and lies. My gaze fell on a diary, leather-bound, smaller than Thomas's, almost hidden in the corner. Picked it up. The handwriting was elegant but cold, precise, meticulous. It chronicled every move Thomas had made, every person he had confided in. And most chillingly, it detailed plans to manipulate, control, and protect a fortune that had always been hidden from me. My stomach churned. Thomas had been protecting me, yes, but from what? From whom? The shadows seemed to press closer, whispering. I felt like I was being observed, dissected, even judged. The figure's voice broke my thoughts. Now you see, it wasn't just about money or property. It was about survival. And some truths can destroy you if you aren't careful. I shivered. The room seemed alive with secrets, each one more dangerous than the last. And yet I felt Thomas's presence, subtle but undeniable. His love, his care, his warning guiding me through the storm of lies and betrayal. I moved to a small chest in the center of the room. Inside were envelopes, each labeled with years, each containing confessions, evidence, and the true story behind decades of events I had never fully understood. My fingers trembled as I read the first one. A confession from someone I had called family, admitting to betrayal, deception, even crimes that had been buried long before Thomas and I had met. My heart ached. 55 years of love had been surrounded by shadows, by manipulation, by people who sought to control and destroy what Thomas and I had built. Tears streamed down my face. Anger, grief, and a fierce determination surged inside me. Thomas had left me this trail not just as a gift, but as a weapon. A way to reclaim what was ours, to protect our legacy, and to confront the lies that had been buried for decades. I turned to the figure, who had been silent, watching my reaction. "You see now, don't you?" they said, almost softly. "The game isn't over. The shadows are still out there waiting. And they'll stop at nothing to claim what Thomas tried to protect." I nodded, tears blurring my vision, but resolve solidifying. I had followed the path he had left me. I had confronted secrets, faced shadows, and uncovered truths hidden for decades. I would not falter now. "I understand," I whispered. "I'll finish this. For Thomas. For us." The figure stepped back, almost bowing, their face unreadable. "Then the final step awaits, but be warned. What you find may change everything you thought you knew." My hand shook as I picked up the final envelope, marked with Thomas's initials. The storm outside seemed to pause, the whispers fading into a tense silence, as if the world itself held its breath. I opened it. Inside, the map to the final location. A place Thomas had spoken of only in whispers. A place tied to our past, our love, and the ultimate secret of his Christmas promise. I realized then that the journey wasn't over. Not even close. And as the shadows of betrayal and secrets loomed around me, one truth burned brighter than any fear. I had survived this far, and I would see it through, no matter what awaited at the end. Because the final surprise, the culmination of 55 years of love, loyalty, and life together, was still waiting. And I would uncover it, even if it meant facing the darkest shadows of all. The rain had finally eased, leaving a damp, eerie silence over the estate. Mud clung to my boots, and the wind whispered through the trees as if echoing Thomas's words. "The final step awaits, be careful, my love." My hand still trembled from the revelations in the abandoned wing, the diaries, the letters, the locket. And now I held the final map. The culmination of 55 years of love, secrets, and warnings was within my reach. The map led me to a part of the estate I had only heard about in hushed whispers. A hidden sanctuary long forgotten and sealed from the world. Even Thomas had only mentioned it in passing. Now it was calling me. I approached the overgrown path, branches clawing at my coat, shadows stretching across the ground like phantom fingers. Each step felt heavier, the air thick with anticipation. My heart pounded with a mix of fear and longing. What had Thomas left for me here? Was it a gift? A warning? Or something I could never have imagined? The entrance to the sanctuary was hidden behind ivy and an old stone archway. I pulled the ivy aside and discovered a heavy iron door, almost invisible against the stone wall. The key Thomas had left me pulsed in my hand as I inserted it into the lock. A deep click echoed in the silence, and the door creaked open. Inside, the sanctuary was breathtaking and terrifying at the same time. Candlelight flickered along stone walls lined with ancient shelves filled with artifacts, old letters, and photographs. The air smelled of aged paper, incense, and something metallic that made my stomach twist. Shadows danced along the walls, elongating and shifting as I stepped inside. At the center of the room, a pedestal held a small chest, polished and gleaming even in the dim light. I approached it cautiously. My heart raced. The chest was locked, but I knew instinctively the key in my hand would open it. I inserted the key. It turned smoothly. A soft click reverberated through the room. Slowly I lifted the lid. Inside, Thomas's handwriting filled a stack of letters, a photograph of us as newlyweds, a velvet pouch, and a small folded piece of paper sealed with a wax stamp. My hands trembled as I picked up the paper. "My dearest love," it read. "If you are holding this, it means you have followed every step, braved every shadow, and trusted me beyond measure. What you find here is the culmination of 55 years together. But know this. Not all is as it seems. Some truths are hidden in plain sight, and some lies have been waiting for decades to be uncovered." My breath caught. Thomas had prepared this not just as a gift, but as a challenge, a final revelation. I unfolded the next sheet of paper. It contained a series of coordinates, a map leading to a place I had never visited, a secluded cottage near the edge of town, abandoned for years. Thomas had left me instructions, clues, and warnings. I stepped outside, the sanctuary door closing behind me with a heavy thud. The storm had passed, but the night was still dark, thick with mist. I followed the path indicated on the paper, heart pounding, eyes scanning for movement. Shadows shifted at the edges of my vision. Footsteps echoed behind me, but when I turned, no one was there. Finally, I reached the cottage. Its windows were shattered, the roof sagging, and vines crawled up the walls like grasping hands. The front door hung ajar. I hesitated. Could Thomas's final surprise really be here? Or was this another trap, another test? I stepped inside. The air was damp, musty and heavy with secrets. My cane tapped softly against the wooden floor. At the far end of the room I saw a trunk dust-covered and chained. The key in my pocket felt alive, vibrating as if urging me forward. I unlocked it. Inside, a trove of letters, photographs, and journals chronicling not only our life together but decades of events I had never fully understood. People I had trusted, including members of my own family, were revealed to have hidden motives, secrets, and betrayals. Tears streamed down my face. The weight of 55 years, the love, the loss, and now the truth, it was almost unbearable. And yet, I knew Thomas had left me this not just as a revelation, but as a safeguard. He had trusted me to see it through, to uncover the truths, and to protect what was ours. A sudden sound made me freeze. Footsteps. Soft, deliberate. I spun around. Shadows flickered in the candlelight. Someone was here, watching, waiting. My heart pounded. "I see you found it," a voice whispered. I recognized it immediately. The figure from the abandoned wing. The one who had been manipulating events, lurking in the shadows, waiting for me to uncover the secrets. I stood my ground, clutching the locket and letters. Fear and determination warred inside me. "I will not let you take this," I said, voice steady despite trembling hands. "Thomas trusted me with this, and I will protect it." The figure smiled almost sadly. "Then you are ready. But beware. The final truth is more powerful than any of us imagined." They stepped aside. I moved toward a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. Inside, a single envelope, sealed with Thomas's personal crest. My hand shook violently as I broke the seal. Inside was a letter, a confession, and a small key. The letter revealed the ultimate truth. A hidden inheritance. A legacy Thomas had built not just in material wealth but in knowledge, trust, and family secrets that had been buried for generations. It also revealed the identity of someone who had been manipulating our lives. Someone whose betrayal had threatened to destroy everything. My hand shook as I read. The truth was shocking, devastating, and yet, it made sense. Every clue, every letter, every shadow had led me here. Thomas had left me the final puzzle, and I had solved it. I felt a presence behind me. Turning slowly, I saw the shadowy figure bowing, respect and fear mingling in their gaze. "You've done what no one else could. You've uncovered the truth, protected it, and honored Thomas's memory." Tears blurred my vision. I felt Thomas's presence, warm and comforting, wrapping around me like a protective embrace. For 55 years we had shared love, laughter, and secrets. And now, even in death, he had guided me to uncover the ultimate truth. The storm had passed. The whispers faded. Shadows retreated. And I knew the final surprise, the culmination of our life together, had been found. But the journey, the emotional journey, the confrontation with betrayal, the discovery of truth, had changed me forever. The night air was still, the storm finally gone, leaving the world cloaked in silence and mist. I stood outside the abandoned cottage, the envelope and key from Thomas clutched tightly in my hands. 55 years of love, secrets, and memories had led me here, to the edge of revelation. My heart pounded, not with fear this time but with anticipation. I took a deep breath and stepped inside the sanctuary one last time. Candlelight flickered across the walls, illuminating photographs, letters, and artifacts that chronicled not only my life with Thomas but decades of hidden truths. Every shadow, every whisper I had chased was now behind me, or so I thought. I knelt by the hidden compartment beneath the floorboards, the key fitting perfectly into a small, intricate lock I hadn't noticed before. The chest clicked open. Inside, a single box, polished dark wood with a velvet lining. My hand shook as I lifted the lid. Inside was something I never expected. A collection of letters, sealed envelopes, and a small leather-bound journal. But my eyes were drawn immediately to a small photograph tucked inside the journal. It was Thomas, but not as I remembered. He was young, standing beside a woman I had never seen. My breath caught. The journal, written in Thomas's careful hand, revealed the truth. The woman in the photograph was his sister, long thought lost. She had been hidden away due to a dangerous family feud, one that Thomas had tried to protect me from for decades. And the letters, they contained confessions, instructions, and warnings about the people who had been manipulating our lives all along. A shiver ran through me. The shadowy figure I had encountered in the abandoned wing stepped forward silently, their eyes fixed on me. I realized they had been guiding me, testing me, ensuring I could handle the truth. Thomas trusted you to see this through, the figure said softly. Not everyone could have survived the path you've walked. I clutched the journal, tears streaming down my face. 55 years of love had been more than memories. It had been a legacy of protection, courage, and trust. Thomas had left me the keys, not just to his final gift, but to uncovering the hidden threats and secrets that had shadowed our lives. I opened the first letter. It was addressed to me, dated the night before his death. His words were tender, filled with love, but also urgent warnings. If you are reading this, my love, it means I am gone. But I have left you everything you need to protect our life, our legacy, and our love. Trust no one blindly. Follow every clue, every whisper, and know that I am with you always. My fingers traced the ink as my heart ached. 55 years. Every day with Thomas had been precious, yet I had never known the depth of the battles he fought in silence to keep me safe. The shadowy figure stepped closer. There is one final piece, they whispered. Something even Thomas could not deliver in life. I looked up. My eyes met theirs, and in that moment I understood. The final surprise wasn't just the letters, the keys, or the journals. It was the revelation of a life lived in love, sacrifice, and courage. Thomas had crafted a journey for me to uncover not just truths, but strength I didn't know I possessed. I opened the leather-bound journal fully. Inside, the last page was folded carefully. I unfolded it slowly. A small envelope fell to the floor. My hand shook violently as I picked it up. Inside was a key different from the others and a note. For the home we built together, the one where our love began. There is a room you have never seen, my final gift waits there. I realized then that Thomas's Christmas promise, the one he had whispered before he passed, had not been a material gift at all. It had been a journey, a series of clues, and a revelation of hidden truths that only someone who truly loved him could uncover. I followed the instructions in the journal back to our estate, to a room I had never entered, sealed for decades. The key fit perfectly into a hidden lock in the wall. The door creaked open, revealing a small chamber filled with photographs, mementos, and personal letters, memories of our life together, preserved with care. And at the center of the room, a small wooden music box, the very one that had started this journey in the attic. I lifted the lid. The familiar melody played softly, a song we had danced to countless times. My tears flowed freely. Inside the music box, a note from Thomas, in his trembling, familiar handwriting. My love, this is our final gift. Not gold, not jewels, but memories, truths, and love. 55 years together. And you have uncovered it all. I am with you always. I sank to my knees, overwhelmed. The shadows receded, the whispers faded, and the storm outside had disappeared entirely. I realized the truth. Thomas had left me the greatest gift of all. Not just memories, but empowerment, courage, and the clarity to protect our love and legacy. The shadowy figure was gone, leaving me alone, yet strangely accompanied by the warmth of Thomas's presence. I whispered into the silence, "Thank you, my love, for everything." And in that moment I understood. The Christmas surprise he had promised was never about material things. It was a journey, a revelation, and a love that transcended even death. 55 years of marriage, a lifetime of memories, and a final secret revealed. Thomas had given me the ultimate gift, the truth, and the courage to carry it forward. I closed the music box and left the room, heart full, tears flowing, and a sense of peace I hadn't felt since his passing. The shadows, the whispers, the secrets, they were all behind me. And the love remained stronger than ever.